I would like to invite Mr. Gill from the third-party opposition and the minister to speak for the next 20 minutes. Mr. Gill, are you wanting to combine your time with the minister?
Please, if that's okay with the Honourable.
That's fine.
Thank
Go
you very
ahead.
much. Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Minister, for being here today. And registry agent, I'm just going to dive right into it. The Association of Registry Agent is calling upon government to modernize the network, and one of which is what they want to establish is like an equitable financial model that automatically adjusts for inflation and the fees they're allowed to charge. Does the ministry have any plan to strengthen their relationship with the registry agent network by providing a means for more responsive fee systems so they can work with the government?
So certainly we are strong partners with our registry agents, and we provide all of the products that are our government products that are provided at registries, and we want to make sure that that those products are provided to Albertans, which is our primary focus in all of the government of Alberta's services and programming, as it should be, is the people of Alberta. I think you would agree. And so we want to make sure that those services are provided to Albertans where they're at, and in the means that they want to access them. And so we do know that Albertans, whether they're young or old, rural or urban, that they want to be able to access registry services through a variety of means. They want to be able to get all kinds of things, whether it's in person or over the counter, or whether it's online through a tablet. And so certainly we have ongoing conversations with registry agents, both with the network, the ARA, and individual registries who we hear from proactively. So we're constantly meeting with them and considering our modernization efforts in respect of the system as a whole. They're very, very engaged group and engaged in the conversations that we're having. And we want to make sure that certainly Albertans have the access that they want to registry services, and that it's provided at a price point that is reasonable in the context, and that is not prohibitive to Albertans being able to access the needs that they have.
Okay, thank you, Mr. So, as we all know, the registry agents have been affected, like all the other Albertans, by this government's minimum wage hike and carbon tax. And the association has also indicated to me, because I met with them a few times, that the many rural agents are losing over close to $5,000 each year. So why will your ministry not work with them and partner with them to make sure that we have the presence of these agents, they stay in business in rural area? Because urban areas, they're doing okay, but it's just that the rural areas are where they're suffering the most, these agents. So why the government is not helping these rural agents?
So we certainly are helping. We provided a 2% tax cut to all small businesses and registries, for the most part, particularly ones in rural Alberta, are small businesses. And so we are happy to be able to support small businesses across Alberta. And we work very closely with them. And we certainly can say that we are not aware of any business failures. Sorry, forgive me. Yeah, in rural areas to this point. And so the information that we have certainly is that all of our registries have been successful, small businesses, and we're quite proud of that because we know that with face-to-face services that that will enable Albertans to be able to access registry services in the means in which they want to be able to access them.
Thank you, Minister. Like you indicated that you're not aware of any business failures. They are losing money every year, so I don't know how long they can sustain in that position. So my next question is that if government is not willing to work with them in a fashion that, establishing an equitable financial model for these registry agents, and your government is going full force on your online portal to offer government services, excuse me, are you not concerned that that these agents going to suffer even more? And again, pertaining to the rural communities where our seniors and rural Albertans who live in rural areas, they prefer in person, as you mentioned, that service. So providing that the government portal, taking that services away from registry and the government start providing those services, aren't you concerned that this is going to impact negatively to the registry agents?
So I
and
just
what are your plans about that?
So I just want to clarify your question because I think there was 2 points in there, and I want to make sure that I address it. First, what I hear you saying is that you're of the view that we should be increasing the costs of registry products to rural Albertans.
No, that's not what I said.
Oh, okay.
We should be. We just saying that the Registry Agents Association has been asking for the model. They're not necessarily asking that we increase the fee per fee. I think it's a $9 or something, $8 per transaction they charge. That's not what they are asking. Sorry,
Mr. Gill, I don't mean to be confusing. I heard 2 parts to your question, and I just addressed the first part, and then the second part being about modernization.
My point is, Minister, is that I'm not asking that we should be increasing the rate for rural Albertans for registry. I'm just asking because the association is trying to get answers from the government, can we come up with the equitable financial model that not necessarily that we have to increase flat fee, but it has to reflect the inflation. It has to reflect the changes that the current government has made. That's all they're asking, fairness. So
I just want to be clear. So you're of the view that we should be raising the fee structure so that more can be charged. Sorry, Mr. Gill, I just want to understand your question. I'm being very sincere here.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if your question is that you're of the view we should be increasing the fee structure in rural Alberta so that additional fees can be charged to rural Albertans for registry products?
That's not the question. But maybe they're asking that exempt us from all those the policies from the carbon tax or minimum wage hike, because the minimum wage the transaction fees was set I don't know, maybe a decade ago or something like that. That the same transaction fee, $8-9 per transaction, when we didn't have carbon tax, when we didn't have this minimum wage. So now the minimum wage has gone up, the carbon tax has kicked in, and the utility bills and inflation all, has increased. The cost of doing business has increased. However, their fees has remained the same level. So the association is saying, can we work with the government so that we're not going out of business?
To increase those fees.
In urban communities, they're doing okay because of the mere population and the volume. We're talking about in rural communities.
Right, so you're talking about increasing the fees in rural communities?
No, I'm just saying, are you willing to work with them? Because that's...
Oh, we absolutely work with...
It's not necessarily increasing the fees. It's just working with them and giving them the tax breaks and giving them all those things, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so they do
to
receive,
make sure that they don't go out of business.
and so they do receive the 2% tax break that we've given to all small businesses. And so then the second part of your question was with respect to modernization. And so I'm just hoping you can clarify what specific modernization aspect you're
Well,
asking
it's
about.
like certain like online renewals, and there are certain services that traditionally that registry agents provided, and now the government start providing the same services. So now they're feeling like we're at disadvantage. That the government of Alberta is competing with us. That's their concern, and they just want fairness. They just want stability. I mean, these are the people who are taking literally food out of their kids' mouth and investing in their business. These are the people who are creating jobs for other Albertans. So I think it's the government's interest to protect their interests along with other Albertans.
So, Mr. Gill, I'm a bit confused as to what you're referring to, because we have not put registry services online. There is one single exception to that. And so you've referred to a number of initiatives, and so I'm just hoping you can clarify what those initiatives are.
Just the renewal, for example. Let's talk about renewal, like online renewal and stuff like that.
So that's the only thing that you're talking about?
Let's talk about that.
Well, I just want to be clear.
Sure. Yeah.
So I can address your
Yeah,
point.
or like paying fine online and all those things, right?
So that was a contract that was held under Alberta Justice. And so if you want to know more about the contract terms of the renewals, you would have to ask the Ministry of Justice.
So they'll fall under justice?
That contract that you're referring to is in respect of fines.
Okay.
It's not. That's all it was, and so that's the only thing that we've put online. And so you referenced a number of other things, and none of that is online.
And the fines and.
No,
okay.
there's no renewals online. You can't renew your vehicle online.
But isn't that is in pipeline, like in the future? Consideration?
In the future, if that is a program that we've put forward, then I'd be happy to discuss it at that estimates. But it's not before us.
The government is not considering that as of today?
I can only speak to what's in our estimates, Mr. Gill, but certainly I can say that we've had discussions with our registry partners about different products that could be offered online and how that could be taken care of, how those products could be offered if they are to be offered online, and whether they're to be done in conjunction or whether or not they're to be done exclusively by individual registry agents. And so there's a number of options in how to modernize registry products, and those conversations are ongoing. But certainly the only product that used to be offered with a portion of registry representatives with the ARA, again, the ARA being only a portion of representation for registries, is the fines, and to have questions about those contracts is perfectly reasonable, but those questions are suited to the Department of Justice, because those contracts were never under Service Alberta.
Thank you, Minister. So now let's, I just want to go to Condo Act regulation. The Condominium Property Amendment Act was received a royal assent in December 2014. And there was a three-phase plan established to draw up regulation for the act. Excuse me. Last year in estimates, the department was working on the regulations for phase one. So I just want to know what is the status of regulation for phase one. Like, it's been almost more than 2 years after the act was passed, and we haven't seen any regulations on that. So if you can please give some information on that?
Yeah, certainly. We know that this is of great importance and is something that we're going to be very proud to be able to roll out. We do know that this particular item was lingering when we took office, and that it certainly needed additional attention to make sure that we can roll it out. We know that this sector has steadily grown, and that as our economy starts to turn around, I've anecdotally seen reports recently about the number of new builds in Alberta increasing. And that certainly speaks to where the market is going and how the economy is faring. And so we do expect there to be additional condominium builds. And so we have wrapped up our consultation and with respect to phase one, and have been in drafting phase, and so we're thrilled that the phase one regulations will focus on protections for buyers of new builds of condominiums and benefit consumers by enhancing disclosures that are provided at the point of sale, including the date of occupancy, realistic operating budget, and estimated condo fees, establishing remedies in connection with material changes to purchase information and occupancy delays, enhancing safeguards for monies held in trust, and ensuring the first elected board is well positioned to take over control of the corporation from the developer-controlled board. And so we expect phase one to certainly be in effect before the end of the year. But it's really timely, and I think it's important to remember that phase one is not the end of the story because it really just deals with the development. But in October of 2015, we did our initial online public survey to consult Albertans on the first phase, and 284 Albertans participated in the consultation survey, and 75% of those respondents were condominium owners. At the same time, we are working already on phase two, and this phase examines corporation governance, insurance, and reserve funds, and the initial development has started. We're expecting to do public consultation in this year, including an online survey and town hall meetings. And so further work is being done already on phase two so that we can have this act fully ready to go as soon as possible.
Thank you, Mr. So we have two more, three phases. So when you think we'll be done, the whole regulation, the entire regulation for this act, by 2019, 2020,
I recall having conversations about this, but I can't recall exactly. So sorry, just forgive me. Yeah, that's what I thought it was. Okay, so Colin, I can't read your writing. What is that? Okay, and then that's completed, right? Yeah. So we're hoping to have it all wrapped up by 2018.
Okay, good.
All of the phases.
Thank you, Mr. Just want to talk about war amps, and last year at this time, my honorable colleague, Mr. Ellis, raised the issue of war amps seeking access to data, allowing them to distribute their key tag program to motorists in Alberta, and most of the provinces in Alberta, in Canada, make up allowance for war amp because of the public service, because of the nature of this program. you and your deputy minister both indicated that department was looking at creative solution to assisting war amps last year, whose donations, especially in these struggling economy, continue to decline while the wait for. So I'm just wondering, like, where are we at with that? What creative solutions your department and your has come up with?